that she is more and more unlikable. She's abrasive, she's a race peddler, and she actually hurts the cause as the best player in the league. That sounds familiar, like another basketball player, but that's for another segment.
When Caitlyn Clark stops bearing the pitiful weight of WNBA viewership, Aja Wilson loses it. Why wouldn't she really? While Clark was out there giving every game her all, this league did all in its power to make her life a living hell. The other participants, meanwhile, were either planning ways to remove Clark from the game or sleeping through it. Furthermore, I don't believe that being A. A 5'8" white female entering a league with 85% black women who want to just straight out take your head off, as if it's simply that. Without her, the league is in ruins, and a Jaws is leading the whiners, pretending as though Clark owes the WNBA something. Let's clarify one issue. Nobody owes Caitlyn Clark anything. Why in the world would she continue to get beaten, pounded, and blindsided each time she took the court? In a tele-reported comment, she expressed her unhappiness with the league's referees, saying, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." She has struggled with physical defense on the professional level. Caitlyn Clark has that. If she stayed, these players would likely plot something worse, possibly even murder, at this rate. Stop wailing. It's not Clark's responsibility to save this sinking ship. I believe that one of the main causes of the lack of interest in this league over the last 20 or so years, as well as the animosity that has been shown toward it, is the sense of entitlement and the sour, unpleasant, and nasty attitudes that many of these players are displaying. It should come as no surprise that Caitlyn Clark packed her bags and took a plane to Europe, yet everyone is going crazy over it. When Clark left, she essentially took the WNBA's viewership with her. Come on. If only she was attracting those 1.8 million viewers. As if it didn't exist. Does anyone else in the WNBA have fans who travel from NFL games to watch her? Yes, exactly. Nobody. She is amazing. I've been saying this all year. She's the best player. With the exception of Steph Curry, she is the best basketball player to watch play. Naturally, the league is disintegrating now that she is no longer there. This is where it becomes humorous, though. Aja Wilson is out here claiming that Clark is solely to blame for the league's collapse. Oh, please. I think Caitlyn Clark drew 1.8 million viewers on an NFL Sunday 2 Sundays ago, and Aja Wilson brought 900,000 viewers on the most recent NFL Sunday, which was the Aces Liberty game. Actually, that's 300,000 more than I had anticipated. It's not like you didn't have your chance, Aja girl. There you were. But rather than taking charge, you're complaining about Clark's departure as if she took the attention and ratings with her. No, dear. Before Clark, the league had no members. She was the only reason those seats were even half occupied. Aja is frantically trying to figure out why no one is interested now that she's gone. It isn't too difficult. They arrived for Clark and took her with them. We might not be discussing this situation if Aja could create even half the enthusiasm that Clark created. However, here we are. By bringing up allegations that Clark had privilege because she is white, Aja is attempting to turn this into a racial issue. Really, Aja, do you wish to discuss privilege? As of the last time I looked, Wilson, who is 6 feet 5 inches tall, comes from a wealthy family, and went to a prestigious private school that costs $20,000 a year, is acting as though she's been through a difficult period. You really had it all lined out for you, Aja. And yet here you are attempting to attribute your lack of admirers to Clark. It seems as though Aja is attempting to divert attention from the reality that, despite her many advantages, she was still unable to accomplish what Clark accomplished. I'm sorry, but using the racial card here won't make up for your own shortcomings. I like to believe that what Aja Wilson says wasn't an accident. She knew she was being filmed and that it would be public knowledge. Caitlyn Clark, meantime, is working tirelessly and rising to the top without relying on her height or experience. Clark didn't enter the limelight by accident. Her talent was apparent, and she deserved every bit of it. Can we also discuss the victim routine as a whole? Please. Any half-witted person could see through that bullshit. People like Jason Whitlock are tearing Aja apart for it, and I'm forced to concur. Aja was too preoccupied with whining while Clark was out there working hard, breaking records, and making sure that every demographic, yes, even black fans, loved her. Additionally, I will reiterate this point. The fact that some of the most ardent Caitlyn Clark fans are non-white is one of the more intriguing features of this fandom. In reality, they are black men. That has turned into something that is problematic for them, you know. Additionally, it has sparked a cultural discussion. We get that you're upset that Clark departed, but rather than playing the victim, perhaps use that energy to get better at what you do. Because let me tell you, that pity party is getting old very quickly and no one is buying it. However, it seemed to me that Caitlyn Clark was receiving a message like, would you like to join our league? You must be like this. But hold on, the most hilarious part is about to happen. A'ja Wilson has a deal with Nike for shoes. Could we just pause for a second to realize how absurd that is? A'ja is generating trouble and bringing the WNBA down with her when Clark was out here saving it all by herself. Nevertheless, Nike decided to put her name on a sneaker for some reason. It's similar to giving out trophies for simply showing up. In this instance, however, A'ja hardly accomplished that. It's genuinely absurd. A'ja must therefore acquire a mentality to defend receiving care that she knows she doesn't deserve. Therefore, Caitlyn Clark's decision to quit the WNBA was not made hastily, okay? No. To be honest, who could blame her for getting tired? She was treated in an absolutely absurd manner. It was more than simply basketball. Out there, it was outright attack. She assumed they were in the UFC because Kennedy Carter was hitting her like that. She was essentially being used as a tackling dummy by Alyssa Thomas. What about the veterans? Oh, they simply watched, presumably hoping that perhaps she might quit turning up if we roughed her up enough. Guess what? The league couldn't stand the idea that Clark was becoming the star, so they were more than glad to allow all of this happen. Now, since it might be April before I discuss the WNBA once more. All right, I promise you I won't be observing. A'ja gave the impression that Clark had it easy, like salvaging the league from obscurity and attracting millions of spectators with a simple walk in the park. Yes, of course, A'ja, since it's easy to carry the entire WNBA on your shoulders while losing game after game. Clark was attracting more than a few 100,000 views. Millions of people will literally tune in to watch her perform. When Clark was on the court, the NFL had to take notice. What did the WNBA do in the interim? Nothing at all. They had the gall to appear as though they were startled when she departed after allowing their most valuable asset, who was also their most marketable athlete, to get beaten up game after game. The luxury of simply playing basketball is not available to us. These societal issues must be important to us. She participates in a social issues league that encourages players to wear T-shirts that advocate for political causes and urge people to vote. She merely wishes to. Clark finished. She wanted a change of scenery, but she didn't simply pack up and leave. The WNBA became into a poisonous dumpster fire, so she left. The cheap shots, the unrelenting drama, and the absence of protection. Everything added up. After glancing at the mess, Clark continued, you know what, I'm leaving. And who was to blame? In contrast to the WNBA, Europe truly knows how to treat a superstar, so they threw up their arms and gave her the respect and gratitude she so richly earned. Without the politics, the foolishness, and the continual physical abuse, Clark can concentrate on her game over there. It was more than a simple move. The escape was from the circus. The WNBA evolved, but fought for bodily protection. She has complained about the league's officiating at the professional level. I feel like I'm getting hammered and everyone is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with, telereporters have said recently. Caitlyn Clark has that. Currently, the WNBA is frantically attempting to stay afloat while scrambling and panicking. The ratings, they've fallen, I see. We're discussing a drop of almost 50%. For a playoff game, they can hardly muster 400,000 viewers. Do you recall the time when almost 2 million people watched Caitlyn Clark? Yes, those times have long since passed. The buzz, the energy, the excitement. She's taken it all away. Half of the venues are deserted. They have only themselves to blame for the league's disarray and the dismal ratings. Doesn't influence TV ratings or sell shoes. He does not do that. A'ja Wilson is that person. She must, however, embrace the idea that I am elderly and that you white girls should support me as I get what is old. She is the only one. The reparations are interminable. A'ja Wilson, however, is still present and continues to act as like nothing is wrong. But she's having a hard time. A'ja is out here whining about privilege and racism rather than taking charge and actually saving this sinking ship. While enjoying her cozy Nike deal, she's out there attempting to attribute Clark's success to white privilege, as if that weren't the very definition of privilege. The level of hypocrisy is astounding. Instead of taking charge and leading the league, A'ja's foolishness is alienating supporters. To be honest, it's pitiful. Nike has a signature shoe and emblem for A'ja Wilson. Her shoe will not be purchased. Nobody is interested. However, Nike is going above and above to win over A'ja Wilson, Don Staley, and the entire BLM community. First, we were able to market A'ja. And let's not even discuss the backlash. Supporters aren't dumb. They are able to see past this. They have good reason to doubt Aja's leadership, her significance, and every action she does. She should be the league spokesperson, but all she's doing is making matters worse. The more she complains, the more obvious it is that she is not suited for this. While Caitlyn Clark is out in Europe doing what she does best, winning, she is struggling and frantically attempting to stay relevant. Wilson Aja, she is now but a footnote to the entire story. Furthermore, it becomes increasingly clear that she is unable to accept the reality that Clark was always the true star the more she gripes. Many of you were the same people who were accusing you of racism and claiming that we didn't need or want your help. Therefore, you should be content with the lower scores because, in theory, you're receiving what you want. Thus, exercise caution when making wishes. Aja, this is the harsh reality. You can continue to blame Clark and point fingers all you want. However, the reality is that you have been overlooked. It wasn't simply records that Caitlyn Clark broke. She established a bar that is obviously unachievable. You're stuck in her shadow trying to stay relevant while she's abroad in Europe rewriting basketball history. It isn't functioning. Nothing will alter the fact that Caitlyn Clark is the one who sparked interest in the WNBA, no matter how much you yell, weep, and play the victim. You are merely a footnote in her tale.